they carry the muni, which is aged in bourbon barrels for 3 months, and it's a tasty treat. So if you're interested in giving it a try,
I'd give it a try, absolutely.
I think we should have a social night and invite and try some of our new wineries wine.
Yeah, I'd do that. Yeah. What I noticed, I just noticed on the way home now today, the weeds are coming up in your vineyard. I mean, they just blew up. And it's like, okay, so how's that going to affect everything?
Well, they probably don't have the mowing ordinance to
Well,
worry about.
well, you can
I
see
would
all
be
the green.
worried about my vines not getting nutrients.
Right. I suppose
But
that's
we've had so much rain, he can't get in there and take care of them.
right. But it was just like, it was all nice and black for the longest time, and now everything just like at the same time just went woof. And I'm like, oh boy. But I'm sure they got it all figured out.
I mean, I know what the farm looks like when I go out to Mars, and that's reality.
Yeah.
With you have a summer like this.
Yep.
But
You can't stay ahead of them.
yeah, you can't. But I think a social night would be very good. Just for our and how we know each other. I mean, I felt like up until not that long ago, you and I did not have a clue about each other. And
I
it
didn't
takes
judge.
time.
Well, I didn't judge them.
Oh, yeah, but you still,
Right.
if you don't have a clue, it's hard.
Kind of how do you break the ice? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there again, with that all in open meeting law, we'd have to advertise it.
We could invite the school board.
Boy.
Or there's gotta be a way, or wouldn't, there's gotta be.
Well, I think as long as you advertise it, it could be a quorum. Not mean that you're gonna discuss anything.
Right, right.
I think that would fall in.
I just think it would be a good thing to do.
Oh, hell yeah. I think so. I tried some of their stuff.
They've got, at Princeton, they had 3 different wines. I think they had an apple cider, and they had the muni, and there was a red. So they do have 3 at Princeton's. That was the only place I knew that had a muni.
Maybe I'll buy, my son has an anniversary coming up, I'll buy him a bottle for that.
Let's try that. It's very nice, and it's, it's Marker's barrels. So it's a good brand of bourbon as well.
Boy, I bet that would be good.
Yep.
Just so you know, that's for like 2 weeks from now.
My sister says, are you, well, she's a half-sister. She says, you ready for us to visit you a lot?
So I just don't want,
I
we're not
said,
gonna
well,
talk about the specifics.
you know, I only got 1 extra bedroom, and you know the dog is gonna be in there with you. I said, but you can always camp out in your truck.
I'll bring a tent over for you. I got a nice big one you can use.
It's 5:30. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep.
before the agenda is approved, I'd like the council to consider adding an item under number 8, public hearing for franchise ordinance and agreements. The item I'd like to add is a resolution directing summary publication for the ordinance and the franchise fees that are to be considered later in this meeting. The reason for summary publication is just to offer a summarized version of both the ordinances that cover the agreements and the fees itself, instead of having the city publish the entire agreement, which adds extra expense that can be avoided with the summary publication.
Do I need to motion that, or just go ahead and put it in?
We would just need a motion to approve the agenda with the added change.
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda with the added change.
Is there a motion's made and seconded, any further discussion? Hearing none, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, any further discussion? Hearing none, all for to approve the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Mayor's comments in open forum. Is there anyone here who would like to speak now? Please come up to the podium, state your name and address. Okay. Number 6, wastewater regionalization project, Jared Vogie.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Enclosed in your packets this evening is the pay estimate number 20 for the regionalization project. It's in the amount of $580,401.84. That brings the project to approximately 94% complete. We did have a construction meeting again today. The contractor's wrapping up some punch list items. Also working on controls programming, which is a good thing, and working down at the St. Cloud end for some of their metering stations. And that's kind of what's going on right now. Continue to making progress towards that startup, which at the latest at the meeting today is anticipated sometime in September. So that's what they're anticipating for the schedule based on their work. And we are recommending approval of pay estimate number 20. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that council might have.
You said September startup, that's 100% we're ready to go, correct?
That would be the time when all lift stations are started up, yep. That's their current anticipated schedule. Yep.
Anyone else have any questions? I would like to see this start up sometime. I mean, just frustrating hearing from the public every day, so. Looking for a motion to approve pay application number 20.
I move that we approve the payment 20 of $580,401.84.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Thanks, council.
EDA report, downtown facade program, applications.
Mr. Mayor and Council, we had an EDA meeting prior to this meeting, and we had 5 applications for the downtown facade program. The EDA is recommending approval of the all of them except for the 2 Dombrowski applications. They actually voted to table the Dombrowski applications at this time. They would just like to obtain a little bit more information, so they are requesting approval of the Cross Center, the JSD, and DZ properties. So those 3, the full applications are in your packet. In addition, the EDA is also recommending that the council add additional funding to the program of $20,000 or consider that, especially during the next budget cycle. We do anticipate more applications to come in. So, and it's been a great program so far. And I'll ask if Councilmember Gondik or Mathewitz have anything to add.
No, that covered it, but it's good to see a program like this go. And I believe that we will have more applicants. With the Dombrowski, we just need some more information of what they actually want to do, because we're not totally against it, but we just need more info, because it seems to me, it seems to us, I should say, that it's going to be a longer project than just a facade. So.
And I'll also add, with the approval of this applications, we'll have a little over $2,000 left in the fund, which is why there's a request for additional funding.
Additional funding this year?
I think as soon as it's possible. But they just wanted to make that formal request to you now.
Is that something you can add to the budget workshop?
I think it's something we should bring up at the budget workshop and see if there's any options we can do to get that in there.
Yep.
That's the best place to discuss it, unless you wanna tap into reserves and pull more money out.
No, it's a pilot program. If it's almost ran out of money, then that's a good thing, rather than having it all sitting there waiting for someone or some bodies. So I would say run it out this year and then look at next year considering adding to it.
Will we still take applications?
Yeah, what we, at the staff level suggested is we should just continue to take applications and let them know that, funding's out. We will still look at those and, we can present that to you, the council at the time, and see what we can do. I think if there's applications or interest, we should still be tracking that and encouraging that.
Yep.
So.
Good.
Do we need to motion to approve these recommendations?
Yep, we would need a motion to approve the funding of the 3 recommended projects.
I make a motion to approve the 3 recommended projects as presented by the EDA.
Second.
Motions have made and seconded. Any further discussion? The only question I have is if it's a halvesies, is that correct? So if they spend 1,000, they get 500, they don't get, if it's under 5,000, they don't get their whole cost covered, correct?
Correct, they have to provide at least a 50% match.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? If not, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Public hearing. I know nothing about this, so.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I can give some background. Previously, a draft of the franchise agreement was presented to you for an agreement with Excel and potential fees that could be collected with this agreement. Just to give some background, the franchise agreements typically would set out expectations between the city and the utility provider, outlining the expectations for construction, operation, and maintenance of equipment located in the city's right-of-way. There's benefits with these agreements. It often enhances the relationship with the city and the utility company. And on top of that, the cities can collect a franchise fee as part of the agreement. How that works is the utility company will impose that fee onto the end consumer, and then they would then remit payment to the city at certain times designated in the ordinance or in the agreement as well. Under statute, the fees then can be used to raise revenue or to defray the cost that the municipality faces for undertaking these municipal or these utility operations. These do apply to everyone, so this is not a subscription or opt-in service. This would just apply to anyone who's receiving the gas and electric. So before you, you have the franchise agreement, which lays out the terms of how Excel and the city would work together when they want to put improvements in the right-of-way. And then it also would spell out the fees in a separate ordinance as well. Excel requested that there be 2 ordinances, one that just lays out the expectation, another one for fees. So in the event that the fees need to be amended, it's easier to do so a part of just the separate fee ordinance than under the whole franchise agreement itself. Few things that are unique to Foley's franchise agreement is that there is a provision that the parties will discuss if there is a safety concern and discuss removal. It doesn't necessarily discuss which party is responsible for removal, but it does say that the parties will get together to confer discussion. Excel will also provide a certificate of self-insurance and insurance upon request by the city annually. And then we will begin collecting the fee from Excel in January of 2025. And the reason for that is because we actually have another franchise agreement with East Central Energy. And under state statute, cities have to collect the same fee from each utility that they are in a franchise agreement with. So we needed the time to then also discuss the current fees with East Central Energy. East Central Energy will be familiar with this process. I'm working on it with other cities as well too, and they do follow what Excel does oftentimes as well. So before you, you have the 2 franchise agreements, one for gas and one for electric, and then also the fees for the corresponding gas and electric as well too. we need a majority of vote to approve both the fees and the franchise agreement. And then we need a 4/5 majority to approve the summary publication, which was added to the agenda tonight as well too. So with that, I can entertain any questions and we can open up the public hearing as well too.
These fees, this is a substantial raise or an increase at all?
We never had any franchise fees at all.
This is something new.
It's something new,
Mhm.
yep. But we don't open up the franchise discussion but every 20 years. So this is why we chose to look at that now, because most cities do have franchise fees. If you recall a discussion we had prior, one of the reasons we looked at establishing franchise fees is that it's not specific to property tax owners and taxable property. It's specific to the user. So people that may not pay property taxes will still pay franchise fees. So it's just another source of revenue for the city to use.
So how do they come up with this amount?
We negotiated that with Excel. Ours, I think comparable, we're a little low on some of the cities around us, but this is our first one, so we didn't want to, maybe jump that far in.
So when would be the next time we would negotiate, the fees?
So the term of the agreement is for 20 years, but we can ask Excel to negotiate sooner. We would just need agreement from both the city and Excel to amend the fees.
The fee schedule, okay.
Yep.
I mean, is there a standard for other cities, every 3 years, every 5 years, or is it just whenever?
Yeah, there's really not a standard practice that other cities follow for like every 5 years that we reevaluate it. Some cities will go the full 20 years and then just evaluate it at that time. It really depends on the needs of the city.
Okay. And the revenue can be used for anything in the city, or does it have to be specifically electric, gas related?
So the statute said it can use to raise revenue for the city, but it does specify that it should be used to help with the expenses that the city incurs for putting in the utility.
Or remove utilities?
That would be associated with the expense of the utility.
Do we have something in our budget for that right now? Have we
No.
ever?
No. I mean, we have just repairs and maintenance, those type of things.
Well, this stems from a situation with a parking lot, correct? Where,
No, well, some of the restoration or those issues, we had an issue during a street project with an abandoned utility
Yeah.
that we did not know was there, and there was an emergency response, and it kind of became a big issue because Excel had left a gas main in the roadway and nobody knew about it. Fortunately, nobody was hurt, it was fine, but part of the reason we asked for some restoration language and fees is because sometimes we need those things removed, and it may not necessarily be guaranteed that Excel will remove them. So it's providing us some additional resources as well for that purpose.
Do we have an idea of what annually these fees would bring in for
Yeah,
revenue?
I think we're budgeting about 75,000 right now.
I think that sounds about accurate.
That's what we Excel worked with us to give that projection. Obviously, we don't wanna we're gonna be cautious about that to see what actually happens with the first full cycle, but that's what Excel worked with us on and we projected.
And the other, because we have two providers in Foley, right? The other one is the East Central?
Yep.
Okay, and we're working on a similar language and fee structure with them.
It would have to be the same, that's a requirement for franchise, they'd have to do the same structure. And they're up to as well, they run together.
And the estimate of 75,000, that would include both ECE and Excel, or is that just from
That would
Excel?
just be, that is a number based on Excel's
Okay.
customer accounts
Okay.
formula, yeah.
Hmm.
So we would add to that.
Sure.
But remember, Excel has gas for the entire town, it's only electric on that south end for East
Sure.
Central.
Any other questions?
And this is a pretty standard common thing among other cities as far as collecting these fees? How is it stated on like their bills?
Typically, on the utility So typically on the utility bill, there might be a line item that says like city fee, is how you would see it then.
This won't go into place until 2025, though, you said?
January of 2025.
Okay. Any other questions? Can I adopt all ordinances, or do I gotta do them individually?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, first we'd want to open the public hearing.
Okay. At 5:46, I'm gonna close the regular meeting and open up a public hearing on the franchise and ordinance agreements for Maxell. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this matter? Anyone here to speak for or against this matter? Anyone here to speak for or against this matter? Seeing and hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 5:47 and reopen the regular council meeting. Do we have to do individually on these ordinances?
We wouldn't have to, the only issue would be if one of the ordinances didn't pass, and then with the resolution, then we would just need that 4/5 majority.
Do you guys want to go individually, or are we going to blanket this?
Doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't really matter.
I feel like it'd be one or all regardless, so,
Yeah,
or all or nothing.
approve both.
Well, then I would entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 483, 484, 485, and 486.
I'll make a motion to adopt.
And the resolution for summary publication?
Can be done all at once.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 483, 484, 485, 486, and the summary of publication for the franchise and ordinances and agreements with Excel Energy and Gas.
Second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Now, do we have to do a 4/5?
Nope, since the resolution was included and it's unanimous passage of it, that it is all included.
Okay. Number 9, department reports. City Attorney Ashley Bukowski.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just to inform you, myself and Sarah Brunn and Chief McMillan just recently received a joint powers agreement from Benton County regarding the registration of cannabis businesses. We talked about it a little bit with the moratorium. The city is going to have to register cannabis businesses. It's not an option that we can get out of. However, we do have the option to enter into an agreement with the county and have the county act in place of the city for the role of registration. So myself and other staff will be working through that to determine the language and any amendments that are needed to the agreement that was presented. And we will likely have it for the council to review at a future meeting as well.
So there's still a moratorium in place?
Still a moratorium at this place at this time. The council would have to lift the moratorium.
We have to lift it?
Yep, it would have to either expire or the council would have to lift it for it to no longer be in place.
But they can register now, the businesses?
At this point, they would not be able to register, but that's part of the moratorium, is that we're studying different procedures on how we can best register the businesses. So this is the study, or part of the study that's being completed as part of the moratorium.
And have we had any businesses apply or
I don't believe,
inquire?
yeah, I don't believe there's been any businesses inquiring about registration. I haven't received any word from the county either.
Any other discussion on this? Anything else from you, Ashley?
Nothing further, Your Honor, thank you.
Your Honor, I like that. Police Department, Katie McMillan.
To continue off of what the attorney stated about the cannabis, I have been on the cannabis management website, been looking through everything that they have on there. There is a guide out for local governments on just general, basically a guide, and I've been reading through that. Quite interesting. And the county, or now through the cannabis management, they are accepting applications for places that don't have the moratoriums in place for if there's social equity. So if they meet the certain standards, they can. Your regular citizens cannot yet, but social equities can. That is open until August 12th, I found on that website. I've been talking with Roxanne at the county about their ordinance and how they're developing their cannabis ordinances, and they got the joint powers agreement done, which we've been reading through that. She's hoping to start working on the zoning ordinance part of it come in September, because that's when the state is hoping to have their rules out on that. So,
So do any other cities have moratoriums in place in the county?
Rice. Yep, the county does. I think Rice might, but I know Becker, Way Park. Yes, several in Stearns.
I'm just talking our county. So Sauk Rapids, St. Cloud does.
Believe they adopted the moratorium.
Yes.
Okay.
For the stat report for the month of July, we had 395 calls. You can see speed enforcement's up, people driving without a license is up. Some good news, we had accidents were down and thefts and our animal calls. Disturbing the peace is up because of our fireworks. Those are a lot of our fireworks calls. And that's about the majority of those. An update for the squad car that I've been working on for next year. I've spent a lot of time on the clock and off the clock researching everything. I'll send out an email probably next week or so to the whole council on all my findings. Just a short tidbit, when speaking with Excel, they stated that our grid is not ready for EV vehicles yet. So they are concerned. They are still looking at seeing if our building can even handle the EV charger, because we don't want to put in the EV charger here and then it affects all the businesses downtown by not giving them enough power and energy for it. So we have to look at what we can do there. So there is a lot of, I had electricians come out, look at the building. I talked to Excel, like I said, department heads, and other deputy sheriffs. It's been a lot of work, so I will send out that email to you guys here probably next week. So.
Is this for a level 3 charger, are we talking, or what are we?
The level 3 chargers, with the electrician said that's going to be over $75,000.
Right.
That's what we would like to have because the downtime, we would need that for response time and making sure the vehicle is fully charged. However, they said like with the level 3 though, you have to charge it outside, which that is not an option for us because all our equipment and everything's in there. So then we're looking at a high-end level 2. And when I asked them too, like how much is this going to affect electricity bills, they said it's just like having your air conditioner on all the time. So that's our electric bill will go through the roof too. So, but like I said, I will have all this information out to you probably next week. So.
Any other questions for Katie? Or I should say, are you done, Katie? I'm sorry.
Yep, that is all I have. And school starts next month. So.
Keep up the good work on that. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
No one else? City Engineer Jared Griffith.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Tonight, at least this time, I just got a quick update on our 2025 project. That we are out there doing our topo for our design coming up here. Probably have another 2 weeks or so, depending on workload, of out in the field doing that topo for us. That's really all I got for you tonight, unless you have any questions for me.
Pedestrian crossing?
The one that, which one? The one on sorry, Broadway, or the one at the roundabout?
That was the one.
Broadway?
Yes.
The one that wasn't working?
No.
Yeah, spoke with our Ped Flasher group, and that's still under warranty, so that shouldn't be an issue. We're gonna work with Design Electric to get that done.
Anyone else? Thank you. Public Works, Fire, Mark, Papp, and Foos.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Hello. In your packet, we haven't done any seal coating for several years, since 2021. So I have 2 quotes. Last year we got too late with it. 2 quotes in there, one from Allied Blacktop and one from Bertram Asphalt. Allied's comes in cheaper overall with everything. So the maps are in there, the roads we will do. I don't know, any questions? Otherwise, I'd like to go ahead and have Allied, they can do it yet this fall.
Is this budgeted in, or is it in your budget, excuse me?
The CIP, yeah, we haven't done the last several years.
And I did, update the figure in your CIP that's current, so you can see that is the expenditure in the 2024 with what your future budget packet has as well, so. We just lumped a few years together is what we did.
How long does that have to sit on there, Mark? The granite, how long does it have to sit on the road?
Oh, yeah.
Depending on the traffic, right?
Yeah, it's, Jared, top of your head, it's in the bids when they got.
Talking about before traffic goes on it?
No, that traffic can go on it.
Right.
Shortly.
Before it, doesn't that have to be done yet? You put that down, right, and then it gets oil on top of it, or?
Yep.
And that just stays there, correct?
4 to 8 weeks after chip seal application.
I was thinking of something else, and where we put chips down before, and then we took it back up or something.
Well, they'll oil it,
Okay.
then they put the chips down, then they roll it, and then, let's say 4 to 8 weeks, and then they come back and sweep
Okay.
it. And,
Are we gonna stripe Glen Street then?
we're gonna have to stripe Glen Street. I thought there's one other one. For sure Glen Street, we gotta stripe back in there, yes.
And we're responsible for that?
Yes. Yeah, they're city streets.
Is there money available to do that? Well, you're gonna have to do all of Glen Street, it looks like.
Yes, all the, I'm just looking here, yeah, it's just Glen Street will get striped. The other ones are not striped now and they're narrow. So we'll get that done yet this year.
You're gonna do the parking lot too, it says?
Pine Street,
Yep.
yeah, Pine has such big, they actually, if you notice their bid is, one of them recommended Allied, they're putting a mastic.
They're gonna seal it first?
The
Or,
bigger,
uh,
it's a bigger seal or something like that,
Yeah,
with those
yeah,
big
yeah.
cracks.
Yep.
Pine has really bad, the grass grows in them, and it's not that old, it's only, 2011, so. That's why we're gonna do that whole parking lot too, to get rid of all those big seams in there.
You're gonna grind it or router it?
Router over a 1/4 inch wide is how they bid them.
Okay.
1/4 inch wide and wider.
Are we hiring out the painting then, part of it?
Yes.
Any ideas what that would be?
No.
Any other questions for Mark on this?
How many more, roads do you have in your CIP after this? Or is this just like barely scratching the surface?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in a perfect world, we would've done Camp Meadows too, but we have to cut it off somewhere, cause we're a little less than what we had last year on price, but then we gotta do some painting here too on Glen, so that's why price is a little less than what we were gonna spend last year. But we had Camp Meadows in last year, we took that out and added the Coburns to Brenny Block, just cause that's so heavy and traveled. So yeah, it'd be nice to do the whole east side, but I mean,
What's the time frame for completion on this?
I would say in the next 30 days, cause you gotta have what? There's a time frame how late in the fall they can do it, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be the next 30 days, I would think.
You looking for a motion?
Yes, please. And it'd be Allied Blacktop for the price I had in my memo of 88,885,00.
I can print out. Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the crack filling and chip sealing quote for Allied of 88,885.00.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Mark, does that just have, the painting, is that just, center line, or has that got whites on the sides and those on Glen Street?
Glen has north side white, which I think we should put in, otherwise the cars
Right,
run that shoulder so heavy.
okay.
I'm locking the front door if anyone's asking what I'm doing on my phone.
Any other questions for Mark on this?
That painting is something we can't do.
Unless you got a real straight driver.
Yeah. There'll be no. Yeah, we'll have one or two crosswalks to redo, Pine Street and a couple of them, but that we can do. I'm overriding the lock is why I'm trying to.
Any other questions for Mark? Motion's been made and seconded. Hearing no more discussion, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against, motion carried.
On the fire side, our 3-year contract with our townships is up already again. We gotta do, we try to schedule a meeting with the townships, with the city council, you guys, I don't know for the newer ones, you guys, we do it at the fire hall. Invite the townships, not to me, we normally don't get a big response, I've been bugging the townships to come, they normally send the contracts back, and we encourage them. But we will need you guys there, so, cause consider a council meeting, cause you guys have the contract with the townships, we don't, so, that makes sense. Either September, maybe October, the third Tuesday seems to fit into, the township schedule, a lot of them are first and second Tuesdays and Thursday, first and second Tuesday, and then also Thursdays.
Do we just need a
So-
quorum for that?
Yes. Correct, sir.
You need that for the meeting, but I mean, we always encourage as many council members to come.
Right, I mean, minimum.
Yeah, but we would need 3.
Will we get stuff out in time for September? I don't know, otherwise we just go October 15th and you guys know, I mean, we could do September, if we wanna do that third Tuesday, which works, on this, it's September 17th, otherwise October 15th.
Monica might like you better if you do October.
I know, and I might like things better if we do it
Yeah.
October 15th too.
It's kinda hectic.
So I wanted to have a little more contact with the townships prior to, I've had some, but nothing will get bumped that day because of the 14th holiday, will it, for a planning commission or anything, or you guys didn't do anything?
Is that the Columbus Day?
Yeah.
Columbus Day the 14th? It could possibly, what time are we looking?
Probably 7 o'clock. It's gonna be probably a later, we seem
We
to.
may have planning, I got something in
Planning?
process, yep.
You can just go another night on planning.
We could just bump it a whole week, or we could bump it earlier or something too. Yeah, get the township scheduled, cause there's more entities involved with that.
So we're looking at September?
October,
October 15th.
15th.
7 o'clock?
Seems to be an evening thing, seems to work better, that's when the townships have theirs. It'd be at the fire hall.
Works for me.
Yep, we'll come up with, staff will come up with, we're working with, what was that, county assessor's office, what's happened with valuations, we'll kinda look at the whole picture, what we're gonna do. I will tell you, the last couple years with valuation skyrocketing, our contracts have gone up considerably, so we know we need to hold back a little bit, we can't keep going up that much, so. We'll have a recommendation for you September, October meeting, probably, I guess, whatever staff can do.
Seems to me the last meeting, Mark, there was an issue of medical calls, getting reimbursed for those. Is that cleared up?
It's been going pretty good, I think, yeah.
Okay.
The townships, I think, are covering most ones that aren't getting covered. That's a hard topic.
Yeah.
It is, and maybe someone, if another township had a better topic, but, yeah. Are we good with that date, October 15th, 7 PM, fire hall?
I'm good.
Anything else? Otherwise,
Any other questions for Mark? Hearing none, thank you. City Administrator, Sarah Brunn.
Yes, couple items. First thing, we have sent out number of letters, and we had the attorney send out, some letters a couple weeks ago as well regarding, non-compliant rental property. The deadline for those entities to submit, excuse me, submit an application was today, I believe, yeah. So we are requesting council permission to, move forward with prosecution. We have 2 of them.
Help explain what the situation is?
They are actively renting their property without a license.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of them have been for quite some time. We usually do rental prosecution as we get time, it's not a top of the list, but we had a renewal period right now, and, we've sent so many letters and we don't get responses, so then we move to legal. One of them we have dealt with in the past quite a bit. It's on Dewey Street. It's kind of been an ongoing one.
And they're not homesteaded?
No, the ownership, the occupant of the property is different than the owner.
But not relative or related?
So they could be exempt if they meet the definition of the familiar relation as identified in the rental code.
Okay.
So,
That property has been inspected,
which property?
the one on Dewey.
The property on Dewey was vacated prior to an inspection before, but now it's been occupied again. But there was not a change in ownership, and they have not shown us a recorded contract for deed either, so. That's one we've had many dealings with. Basically, it's they haven't turned in an application and gone through the inspection process.
So you need a motion to proceed with prosecution?
Yes, I want to make sure you guys are aware, we always let you know when we go take that step.
So what will be the next step, Ashley, if this was to pass?
So I will reach out to them again, just to see if, they needed essentially a second chance to get this, or if they can give us any explanation, but it's a much shorter period. I typically would recommend the city just giving them 7 days to schedule that inspection and submit an application. If we do not respond then we can choose whether to go the criminal route, because violations of the city ordinance are considered a misdemeanor, or there can be the civil prosecution route, which would just be a civil lawsuit against those individuals. And what we would be seeking is compliance with the city rental code, so that they actually obtain a rental license, and that a permanent injunction be placed against them, so that they can no longer rent a residential unit without a license.
Even if the person is interpreting our ordinance a different way, prosecution would still go ahead?
We might have to have our expand upon that statement a little bit more. I haven't received any information that would indicate that a different interpretation would sway whether we would prosecute or move forward or not. From all the information that I've obtained and that I've discussed with Sarah as well, that it is appropriate that they have a rental license, and that those individuals simply just do not have a rental license at this point. So that's why we're moving forward with it. If we would receive other information, we would certainly review that and determine if additional legal steps are necessary. But just because a person thinks that an ordinance doesn't apply to them, if they meet the definition of a rental unit within the city that requires a license, they do need to have a license.
Thank you.
And then with these 2 subject properties, has this also been have they avoided our communication, or have we had any actual physical communication with them where they understand that they?
Yeah, I've spoken to both of them at the window myself personally.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been a while on the one property. It's probably been over 6 months on the one, but, the second one that's on the north end, I spoke to them a couple months ago directly, and our staff has too, so.
Okay,
In addition to letters, they're getting,
so they know that
Oh, they know.
this has to be done. Okay, so yeah, so in that case, I mean, a motion needs to be made,
I'd make a motion, please, yeah.
uh, specifically around prosecution. I make a motion to proceed with prosecution of non-compliant rental property.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Second item I have is we are at the staff level, I was asked by our utility billing staff if we would consider waiving these water and sewer late fees. If you have been following any of our communications, we are having issues with people when they're logging into the portal, making that change with their account number. So when they log in, they're actually viewing an old account. Because when we implemented the new system, you notice we dropped a whole bunch of those account numbers and simplified the account numbers. We had big red letters and warning notices when you log into our web store, but a lot of people just still were not doing it. So we have people that either overpaid or underpaid on the credit card portal. RevTrak was able on the back end to get it overridden and sorted out, so moving forward now it's correct. Our concern is we're gonna have a ton of people that are automatically going to get a late fee because they paid $10 too less because they looked at their old account, didn't take their bill, look at that account number, didn't follow the instructions online. I'm not sure, we put a bunch of communications out, we had a lot of people that just don't look at their bill and don't look at the web store, they just go in and pay.
Yep.
So that's why we're asking one more month of waiving late fees.
That would be July.
Yep, that would be July.
I make a motion to waive the water sewer late fees for the month of July because of the credit card portal issues.
I'll second that.
Excuse me. Any motions made and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Okay, and then, Mr. Mayor and Council, just wanna let you know, next week is the primary election, so we will, be busy working that, and everybody, make sure you come out and vote. And then, I also wanna let you know, we are working on lots of good inquiries and questions and lots of interest in our community, which is really fun to see. So, we'll have some discussion later on housing, but, I just wanted to let you know that, it is still, there is still stuff moving, and you can tell our housing study is driving a lot of questions. You can tell the downtown facade, a lot of these different things that we're doing as a city, so that's great news. So we're keeping busy with that, and budget stuff has been provided to you. We will be providing some water and sewer budget stuff next week. We have to take a look, I wanna make sure that the revenues, the two systems coming over, all the revenues are appropriately counted for, because we do have some changes on the revenue side based on the weather, and then some of the business losses that we anticipated. And then I also have a meeting coming up with St. Cloud. They're gonna go over some of their future capital and budgetary stuff as well. So I wanna get a few more pieces of information to implement into that water sewer budget. So you'll see there's kinda some blanks there. We haven't gotten everything back yet, so that will come out next week for you. But at least you have the general stuff to start looking at. Jot down questions. If anything we can help you with at the staff level, don't hesitate to reach out. I think that's all I have for now. So, any questions for me, I guess?
Anyone have any questions? Anything else, Sarah?
Nope.
Old business. New business.
Well, I
Future
would get-
council
I'll-
Yeah,
workshops.
I'll
if
give
you had
an
anything.
update.
What?
I was gonna give update on the commissioner township meetings.
Yeah, I didn't get minutes, but if you wanna, yeah.
Well, I attended the meeting. The city of Rice, as we know, they have a development
47 unit development going up around their city. And with that development, that will be their last development, because they're running out of room. And I suggested that, since you're running out of room, to push those people our way, because we will have room someday. The commissioners, of course, Ashley touched on the cannabis with the joint powers agreement. I think that's something we should look at before we make any kind of decision. There's a lot that they said we should look at. With that, the commissioners are also, the courthouse is not, it's still up for discussion. There's looking for more information. I think they have a couple of commissioners that would like to have it put in Foley, but they also have a couple commissioners that don't want to build it at all. So the more input that we can give our commissioners, the better. I stated that it should be built because the city could use the commerce from the people coming into the town. Other than that, there was discussion on the assessor's office, to where right now there are a couple of assessors that are independents that do the assessing for townships. The assessor's office would like to have it all combined into one, and they are looking for personnel to do it. They are kind of short-staffed right now, and long-term is they would like to have it all into one. With that, because they do have, some townships say they have really good assessors, and I guess it's in their favor. There was discussion about townships in the county on roads and right-of-ways and ditches. And with that, the cannabis took quite a bit of time, because everything is still up in the air of which way we go. So.
Any other new business? Do we need to entertain this future council workshop?
And we meet in 2 weeks for the budget?
Yep.
Okay.
And that'll be, just, we don't make any final decisions, we make recommendations and then address it in September. That's kind of to hash out the details.
Sure.
Mayor's comments and second open forum. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? Please come to the podium now. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Meeting adjourned.